Corporate welfare, which used to be an absolute badge of membership in the conservative movement, that you were opposed to corporate welfare, you were opposed to subsidies. We now have them littered all over the country. We now have a regional development agency for Southern Ontario. So if the purpose of regional development agencies was to pull investment from one part of the country to another, we now have, since we have regional development agencies for every part of the country, we're pulling investment every which way simultaneously. That is what we've arrived at in this country. Conservatives used to believe in open capital markets. Well, after the banning of the RadarSat investment, we can't say that anymore. They've done some good work, I suppose, on free trade. I think the EU proposal is very exciting if it comes to pass. But it is odd to see conservatives standing for free trade on one hand, and the other hand standing foursquare for supply management and all that goes with that. On policy after policy, they have not simply watered down or gone incremental. They have abandoned their convictions. They have discarded their principles. They have at times broken promises, and even in one infamous case, violated their own law. So it's an odd definition of compromise that suggests not just half a loaf is better than no loaf, but that no loaf is acceptable. It's better, in fact, than trying to reach for half a loaf, because that would involve sticking to your principles even half the time. What I want to suggest to you is this is a phony definition of moderation. This is a phony definition of the noble art of compromise. It seems to me politics, it's too easy to say politics is just the art of the possible and leave it at that, because it allows other people to define what is possible. It seems to me a truer statement is politics is the art of enlarging the possible. Politics is not just a matter of giving people what they want. It's a matter of making them want what you want them to want. It's not just a matter of moving to the middle, as all of my pundit colleagues will advise. It's a matter of moving the middle to you. The great and successful politicians have been the ones who've been able to define the terms of debate, to make themselves the middle, to define what moderate is. Well, what instead have we seen? My complaint is not just that conservatives have abandoned conservatism themselves, which is mostly annoying to me just because I think there should be a conservative alternative, even if I don't necessarily subscribe to it. But they've closed off any possibility of anyone else applying it either. They haven't moved the middle to them. They haven't even moved to the middle. All they've done is shift the spectrum further and further to the left. We now have the right wing of Canadian politics is now defined by $35 billion deficits, record high levels of spending, unilateral withdrawals from Afghanistan, a nation resolution in Quebec, go down the list, and we've got four parties to the left of them. And so it becomes a very easy statement for people to say, well, if even the Tories, if even the right-wing conservatives wouldn't do X or Y or Z, it must be completely beyond the pale. And so whole sections of public policy, privatization, tax cuts, what you name it, have been ruled off limits because they're now seen as just unimaginably extreme because even the Tories wouldn't do it. There is, of course, no possibility of forming another party. That's been tried. No one wants to go up that hill again. You'd be accused of trying to split the vote, etc. So the Tories are occupying that ground without any other possibility of anybody else intervening. But much more importantly, they are defining the criteria not just by which they themselves will be judged, but by anybody else. When you see conservative ministers going out and positively boasting that their approach to, let's say, global warming is more interventionist and more regulatory than the Liberals. The Liberals were using what most market economists would say that it was the more market-oriented approach of the carbon tax. The Tories would say the Liberals want to give people a license to pollute, whereas we would forbid it. This is a conservative talk. Conservatives go about the country boasting about the pork that they're bringing to the ridings, asking to be judged by how much do they deliver the booty. No conservative used to talk that way. They stressed their devotion to special interest tax preferences. Rather than talking about tax neutrality, what they want everyone to do is go, well, if I lobby my minister enough, if I court them enough, I can get a special interest tax credit for me as well. So they are changing the criterion by which they themselves will be judged and by which other parties will be judged, and it'll be a little late in the game if some ways down the line they want to turn around and say, you know when we were saying all that stuff when we were a minority, well now we're a majority, or we're seeking a majority, and we've changed our minds. We'd like to be judged by a completely different set of criteria. We'd now like you to applaud us for cutting spending, or for cutting taxes, or for making the tax system more neutral, or for removing regional development agencies, or for ending pork and corporate welfare. good luck to you. Good luck to you. Once you've taught people how they should judge you, then don't be surprised by how they will judge you. Thanks very much.